Hello, School Transportation Nation. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Tony Corpin, publisher of School Transportation News, and this episode is brought to you by Transfinder, a leader in school bus routing software, and our tech tip is brought to you by Zonar, a leader in smart fleet management.
And I'm Ryan Gray, Editor-in-Chief at School Transportation News. Today we'll be hearing from one of our speakers at the upcoming Transportation Director Summit, Meridith Elliott Powell, a business growth expert, author, and speaker.
Thanks for that reminder, Ryan. The Transportation Director Summit, if you signed up for it, is going to be March 29th and 30th. Coming up next week, we're really excited. We got a great cast of speakers. Full agenda is over on the website at tdsummit.com. Be sure and check that out. Ryan, want to shift gears, talk about the money. You know, it's not Jerry Maguire, but, show me the money. We got a lot going on. Everything's kind of hitting all at once, but what does it all mean for transportation? I think there's a lot of questions out there. How's it going to kind of matriculate through the system? How's it going to affect me, my department, my budget? A lot of question marks, I think, still out there on this, Ryan. Any clarity you can provide on what's going on?
Yeah, well, the U.S. Department of Education announced the grant amounts for all the states last week, along with District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. And one of the things that jumped out to me was we had been hearing for a couple weeks, couple months about this $130 million mark for education. Then when it was passed and signed into law by President Joe Biden, it became $128.55 billion. Now it's about $122 billion, just shy of $122 billion. That's because there's an additional $7.6 billion going to special ed and homeless, as well as tribal governments and the U.S. territories. There's another $10 billion that Health and Human Services is using to assist with safe reopening of schools. But this, breakdown of money from the U.S. Department of Education, it's still a very good thing for the industry, especially because school bus is specifically mentioned. That's right. We confirmed that last week. And basically what it's going to be looking at doing is providing social distancing and safety protocols on school buses. Now, we don't know exactly what that means, and we don't know how much money is going to be going towards that. But it was a line item that the U.S. Department of Ed put out there when it released the various uses of these funds. So there definitely should be some PPE and ventilation, some of the things that we had seen previously. But it's always good, like we've been talking about, when we see school bus mentioned.
Yeah, Ryan, wow, man, that's got to be exciting. If you're just hearing that right now on the podcast, you got to be like jumping up out of your seat. School bus being specifically mentioned. You guys are going to be able to tap into some of this money directly. You're not left on the sidelines. It's so important you take advantage of this opportunity. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get the federal government to infuse this much capital into the education system, and specifically for school transportation to be having a seat at the table. Man, it gets me excited. I'm pumped for everybody. I think it's just going to make our industry better. Our school buses safer. Our kids get them back to school. It's so important. So definitely we'll keep you guys updated on all this great stuff. And I'm super excited.
And some of the other things that this money is going to, still transportation could also get ostensibly. We're looking at avoiding devastating layoffs. That's one of the line items in there. Also funding summer school enrichment programs. Was speaking with consultant Tim Ammon last week, actually, as I was finishing up my column for our April issue. And he mentioned that certainly what he's hearing is that with that summer school, and the additional enrichment that's going to be needed to get all these students kind of up to par and getting ready for the next school year, what's going to be involved? Transportation. So that's right there where the industry can lean in and potentially get some of those funds. Also, Wi-Fi hotspots. We're going to be looking at how that might play into the school bus. Obviously there's a lot of school districts that are using Wi-Fi hotspots. If they can get some of that federal money for that end, then that's even better.
Yeah, distance learning is sure taken, a big turn since the pandemic hit. And I definitely think more and more people are seeing the school bus as an extension of the classroom. We've talked about it for years, but it took a pandemic to, I think, get the administration to really, really focus in on the importance of school transportation and the environment. Wouldn't you agree, Ryan?
Certainly. And I think that the electric school bus conversation has helped with that. I think that it's been front and center on the top of the mind of the Biden administration. So hopefully maybe that has helped with the COVID-19 and assisted in getting some of that school bus mentioned with those funds. Unfortunately, the school bus contractors, they're still waiting, though, on their slice of the $2 billion in CERTS money that was passed at the end of the year with, basically CARES Act 2. That's what people are calling it. I saw another letter sent to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen last week. The initial indication was from the United Motor Coach Association and National School Transportation Association earlier this year. They were thinking that it was going to be early to mid-March when they would get details from Treasury, because that's who is overseeing this program. It's going to be a grant program, evidently. There's still no word. So there's been senators, congressmen and women that have been writing to Janet Yellen. This is another letter went out from the CERTS Coalition, which NSTA is a part of. We have still not seen that, though. So I know that the contractors are still awaiting some much needed assistance.
Yeah, Ryan. And I did notice that the IRS might be giving us a little bit of an extension on our taxes till May now, which is nice. And I did see, though, online, I read a story on the Wall Street Journal that there is hundreds of billions of dollars in tax refunds happening. So that's got to be a good thing for people out there. Not to mention, we've got the stimulus money starting to hit. I haven't gotten my check yet, Ryan, but I'm sure many people are going to start getting their checks pretty soon out there. Sooner than later, it's going to start hitting.
You're not eligible, Tony, I don't think, but
maybe
we got ours last week, so that's good. And certainly there's also the PPP money, that payroll protection program, and that's another item that a lot of school bus contractors can hopefully take part of. I think the companies like STN and suppliers around the industry that are small businesses certainly can take advantage of those kind of funds.
Yeah, Ryan, another thing we can take advantage is of an excellent tech tip from our friends at Zonar, a leader in smart fleet management. Fixing vehicle problems is pricey. Add unexpected costs like towing, and your costs go up. Keep vehicles running smoothly by shifting to a more proactive approach to maintenance, enhance preventative measures with modern fleet technologies, and extend those efforts with predictive solutions to prevent future issues and breakdowns. Your fleet, shop, and budget will thank you. Learn more at zonarsystems.com/rethink. That's zonarsystems.com/rethink.
Hot off the presses, Tony. The CDC is back making news again. Some of you may have seen on Friday, they came out and released new distancing guidelines for students in classrooms. That's right. So they moved from the 6 feet, which they've been talking about forever, to 3 feet. Now, that's not, all over the nation. It really depends on the transmission rates of COVID-19 in the area. But the good news is that unless you're in a really high area, basically what they're saying is students in classrooms need only be 3 feet away from each other as long as mask use is universal. So that prompted the question, what about school buses? We're working on that right now. When we were recording this podcast, our illustrious associate editor, Taylor Hannon, was hot on the trail, speaking to CDC and trying to get some clarity on that. Was speaking to some folks in the national associations, and they were seeming to indicate that what they've heard is that school buses could be included in that 3 feet. Again, by the time that this podcast comes out, hopefully we'll have an article up on that and we'll have some confirmation.
Ryan, I think everybody's going to be breaking out their measuring tapes real quick and saying, hey, how many kids can I fit on the bus now if I have to recalculate? God, what did we go through to try to figure out that we could fit like 13 kids on a bus or 14? And it seemed like a stupid number, right? Like 13, it feels so inefficient. But wow, by reducing that spacing, that's really going to potentially change things significantly. And I'm really interested in hearing what the final word is from CDC, as well as what Taylor kind of sleuths out. But that really could be a game changer for school transportation professionals and school buses, because we need to get more kids on buses, more students in the classroom. I know one of our main focuses was school enrollment seems down as well because of all the craziness going on with COVID. People are still uneasy about sending their kids back, or I guess depending on where you live, right? I see my kids are going back. The high school is starting to go back. It's still kind of on this hybrid thing where they're going for, 2.5, 3 hours a day. Then they're taking a Wednesday off to clean the school. But regardless, I don't know. The momentum to me feels real good right now, Ryan, that kids are going back. My neighbor, I was talking to them, they have young kids too. And they're like, man, my daughter was so depressed. She couldn't get in the classroom and she's feeling so much better seeing friends again. So, children's mental health is really at stake. I think getting these kids back is so important, and school buses play a major role. So I'm really excited to get this news. It's such a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll find out again if it does include school buses, but the trend is going the right way. That's your point. I mean, it's things seem to be opening up. It's great here in California. Here it is when we're recording this podcast. The movie theaters opened up. That's been a big thing. I mean, we haven't gone to the movies. Everyone's been in the streaming land for a year. Back to indoor dining here in the Los Angeles area. I know that's been opening up, or in some places never closed around the nation. But again, California has been one of those states, along with Oregon and kind of some of the West Coast states there, that have kind of been last to this reopening party. So now that we're starting to see this open up, it's feeling a lot better. But certainly, something to keep in mind with the CDC guidance as well is they're saying that adults, though, still need to be taking precautions and staying 6 feet away from kids. So this is really kids with kids, 3 feet in the classroom again. What CDC said was that students in common areas like school lobbies, auditoriums, places like that, they should still remain 6 feet apart when masks aren't worn, like during eating in the cafeteria, during exercise. And here is something that we're going to be looking at, quote unquote, community settings outside the classroom. So again, we'll find out if that means school buses, or if school buses hopefully will be wrapped up in this whole extension of the classroom and will be considered that kind of area where kids can still be, 3 feet away from each other.
Yeah, Ryan, I know we were talking earlier, there's been some medical studies that have come out recently that have some really informational things for everybody to kind of take in. You want to share that with everybody?
Yeah, sure. So Harvard led a study that was published recently in Clinical and Infectious Diseases, and they concluded that lower physical distancing policies can be adopted in school settings with masking mandates without negatively impacting student or staff safety. The World Health Organization had already updated its physical distancing guidelines to 3.3 feet or 1 meter. And, now we've seen CDC follow suit. Actually, in the CDC's announcement that they made on Friday, they also point to a study in that day's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, which also addressed the spread of the SARS-CoV-2 virus in schools. CDC said, taken together, these studies build on evidence that physical distancing of at least 3 feet between students can be safely adopted in classroom settings where mask use is universal and other prevention measures are taken.
Ryan, good news. Pop quiz for you. Are you excited? Do you love pop quizzes?
Of course, love them.
Oh, awesome. Well, I got a 4-question pop quiz for our audience today. Ryan, true or false? Transfinder's powerful Route Finder Plus has artificial intelligence optimization embedded or baked into it. What do you think, Ryan?
I would have to say true.
You're right, Ryan. That's true. True or false? Transfinder's award-winning Stop Finder parent app is multilingual.
True. And I want to interact with that thing because I want to try to practice my language skills.
Well, Ryan, you're in luck. They offer Spanish, French, and of course, English. So habla español. You can do that too. True or false, Transfinder's innovative Wayfinder driver app allows users to simulate routes on their personal devices from the comfort of their home long before they get behind the wheel.
Wow, that must be true.
You guessed it, Ryan. That is true. And the last, fourth question here, our friends at Transfinder are offering a free lunch to attendees after the Transportation Director Summit on March 31st. What do you think, Ryan? You think that's true or false?
I hope that's true because I'm hungry.
Yeah, you know what? It is true. Everybody loves a free lunch. So if you're going to the Transportation Director Summit, you're in luck. Transfinder is going to be giving you some free lunch to go to their Lunch and Learn that following day on the 31st after we wrap up the Transportation Director Summit. And if you didn't get 100% on the quiz, that's okay. Transfinder is grading on a curve. Email them at getplus@transfinder.com. And don't forget to write STN podcast in the subject line. We'd love for you to let them know that you heard this from us and you remembered that great pop quiz. 800-373-3609. Give them a call as well. Super excited for the next interview with Mr. Ryan Gray. We have Meridith Elliott Powell, business growth expert, author, speaker. She's also a keynote at our upcoming Transportation Director Summit.
Joining us now on the School Transportation Nation stage, Meridith Elliott Powell. She is a business growth expert, author, speaker, saw the other day, certified virtual presenter, which really makes a lot of sense in this day and age. And it's perfect for us because she is going to be one of our keynotes at the Transportation Director Summit next week. They always say that there is no I in team, but there's two I's in Meredith. Meredith, thank you for joining us today.
That's right. I'm still a team player, though, Ryan. I'm excited to be here and work together with you on this podcast.
Absolutely. And with the Transportation Director Summit, that's what this is all about. Leadership. We were just talking a moment ago about pulling all of these aspects together for leaders. And before we get into a little bit of what your presentation is going to be, because we don't want to give away the farm, right? We want people to log in and take part in this great event. But share with our listeners and our audience your background. What is your specialty and how did you come up?
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of have a very varied background. I've worked in public relations and marketing in the travel and tourism industry. I've worked in healthcare and I've worked in financial services. And I always used to think that none of those things had anything in common until I figured out that I enter industries when they're going through extreme change. And that's really my area of expertise, is helping organizations navigate really uncertain and struggling times. I really enjoy that. I focus on strategy, sales, leadership, everything you need to do to engage your talent to get excited about change rather than run from it.
Certainly, the school transportation industry is undergoing a lot of change right now, and a lot of that has been COVID-19 forced upon everybody. But, we have electric buses. We just have all these different things now that are really changing the industry. A lot of folks look at the yellow bus, though. It looks the same, basically, as when you maybe rode it or when a lot of us rode it when we were kids. But so much is changing, and you just really hit on it. That change scares people, right? It comes down to uncertainty. People don't like uncertainty.
No, not at all. In fact, the research says that people would rather we sit on this podcast and tell them things that are bad that are going to happen rather than to say we don't know what is going to happen. And that's really my mission, is to help people flip the script on uncertainty and see it as a positive and something that can actually help them transform to the next level rather than see it as an obstacle.
And so your keynote on March 29th and 30th is named Thrive. So THRIVE in capital letters. So that's going to stand for something, I take it. But, like I said, really, it's turning uncertainty to competitive advantage. And this is based on research, right? You have 9 steps that you're going to go through. Again, don't want to give away everything, but can you maybe give a little bit of sneak peek of what folks can expect?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this topic. A couple of years ago, I became obsessed with the word uncertainty because a couple of years ago, the economy was good, things were good, everything was good, even in the school transportation world. Life was pretty easy. It was pretty normal. Maybe we're dealing with an electric bus, but it wasn't massive disruption. But everybody I would talk to would say, things are good. We're having a good year. We're comfortable. But this uncertainty, as if we were all waiting for the ball to drop. And like I said, I thought, why does uncertainty always have to be a negative? And what would happen if you flipped the script on it? And so I started to study and research and look for companies that actually had done that, had learned to use uncertainty to propel growth as a positive in their organization. And from that research, I wrote and researched and proved a 9-step formula for thriving in uncertainty, that if you follow the 9 steps, it's an action plan. You don't have to think about it. This is exactly what you do. It is not only going to help you navigate change, but it's going to get your team on board and actually excited about the future rather than stressing and worrying about it.
Did you hear that, nation? So if you're not registered for the Transportation Director Summit, get on it now because this is going to be some transformational stuff. So I was mentioning a little bit your background, Meredith. Really, you play in that sandbox of corporate culture and engagement, organizational development, productivity, and sales. You have a big sales background.
Yeah.
Something that student transportation or student transporters, especially at school districts, aren't always the best at. They're not good at tooting their own horn. What are some of your thoughts on kind of expanding that? They're not trying to, sell, widgets or make money, but there is a lot of selling to do when you're a student transporter.
Yeah, I love the way you just described my background because you talked about all the things I have my fingers in, right? I have my fingers in leadership, organizational culture. I've got my fingers in sales. And the reason is because really what I am is a growth expert. And if you're going to grow, you better have every single point working. And sales is a big piece of it. I work with organizations all the time where I'm not working with the sales force. I'm working with the people in administration. I'm working with the people in operations because everybody is in sales. Listen, if you ever tried to get your kid to eat a vegetable, your spouse to go to the doctor, your mother to quit driving the car when she turns 95, you are in sales. So everything that these directors are doing is sales. I mean, they've got to convince their teams to do things. They've got to convince the budget directors to do things. You've got to, come up with new ideas, then sell your new ideas. Sales is one of the most important skills you can have in general, but as a leader, it is mission critical.
And, a lot of what we were talking about with your background, I mentioned a strategy. So you're really a strategist. That's what you're going to be bringing to the table for transportation directors. How do you take all of these things, wrap them up in a ball, and, then play with it?
Yeah. I'm actually a master certified strategist by training. I actually went back to college and got a degree in strategic planning. And I've got to tell you, I'm a fly by your seat of your pants kind of girl. I always thought strategy was a waste of time. And the deeper that I got into trying to manage finance, trying to manage people, trying to manage the day in, day out tactics of what I had to do, I figured out I couldn't do it without a strategy. And if you are a director, you've got to have a plan. And that plan is definitely the goals that you want to achieve, but that's the easy part. We've got to figure out the steps and all the moving parts, like you said, Ryan, that we've got to put together with that. Really what I like to do is I think that it can be overwhelming to be a transportation director. You've got a lot of moving parts. And what we're going to do is help you figure that out in a strategy and a plan. So you don't have to put so much thought about the actions you take. You just put those actions into place day in and day out, and it's going to keep you moving forward, keep you on the path of success, and help you turn all those obstacles really into opportunity.
Well, greatly looking forward to your talk. I think folks are going to get a lot of great takeaways from this. Again, March 29th through the 30th, virtual Transportation Director Summit. You can still register, and hopefully we'll see so many people on there, and Meridith Elliott Powell will be there, and she's going to be ready to help everyone take it to the next level. Thanks so much, Meredith.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Hey, special thank you to Meredith for joining us on the podcast today, and also my co-host, Mr. Ryan Gray. Glad could you be here, Ryan. Friends, stay tuned for more coverage next week live from the Transportation Director Summit. Ryan and I will be coming to you live from the TD Summit, well, virtually at least. So we are stuck in virtual land for a while longer. We also have another great virtual conference, the Green Bus Summit, April 20th through the 22nd. Registration is now open and it's free to attend. Be sure you lock in your registration at greenbussummit.com for more information. Additionally, we've got our in-person conferences. Yes, we'd love to see you in person again. STNexpo.com for all that information. We got STN Expo Indianapolis, October 1st through the 5th, our Transporting Students with Disabilities and Special Needs Conference, November 17 through 22, and STN Expo Reno, December 4th through the 9th. We'd love to see you guys. Registration is going to be opening along the way in the next couple of months. We'll have more information. Be sure to go to stnexpo.com for all the updates. And then last but not least, our website, stnonline.com. Latest news, analysis, COVID-19 coverage, stimulus funding, everything you need to know about school transportation and the school bus industry is there. I want to thank you, listeners. Subscribe, stream, review the podcast. We love those 5-star reviews. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We love you, School Transportation Nation. We'll see you next week.